I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, August the 3rd, brought to you in part by Vitalix. Vitalix has multiple options for controlling and repelling the fly population in your herd. Keep flies out of your business. Get the blue tub, your cows will love you. Go to Vitalix.com. It's the economy, stupid, and you will have had to have been living under a rock if you haven't noticed over the last 2 or 3 years that our economy sucks. And it's not just the U.S. economy, it's the world economy. And I know the cattle market's good, but our economy as a whole sucks. And it's continuing to get worse. The Magoo administration especially has printed so much money when they first hit Washington, D.C. that our inflation has just went through the roof. Well, the only way that you can fix inflation is to raise interest rates. Well, we've been doing that. We've raised interest rates till it's just about killed our economy. And I don't care which side you're on. And I'm all about checks and balances. I know we have to go one way and then back the other. But whenever we go the left side, as hard left as what we've gone here for the last 2 or 3 years, we're going to have to get somebody in there to make some hard adult decisions. We can't have everything. I realize that we can't continue to burn up all of our fossil fuels, but you guys have seen the data that said, there's plenty there for our lives, our children's lives, and their children's lives. Well, maybe right now is not the best time to go completely green. Maybe let's wait for the technology to get there. I assume, and I figure most of you assume, that in 100 years we'll probably be driving electric cars, or our grandkids will. Maybe by 2030 is not the time to push that forward. Maybe we need to drill. Maybe we need to get energy independent again. Maybe we need to be collecting money from other countries around the globe instead of borrowing more money from them, and then putting safeguards in place to where we're not touching all the resources that we have here in our part of the globe. But this deal is getting really serious. It's hurting everything. It's hurting everybody. And now, as we get to this part of the week, we saw that the all-important Fitch credit rating shows that we're not as attractive as the United States to the rest of the world when it comes to borrowing, and they have lowered our credit rating from a AAA to a AA+. That's not good when we're going down. I mean, who else would you think would be a dependable borrower than the United States? Well, we've lost that. We keep running into these debt limits, and we're letting those debt limits become political, and it's not a good thing as the rest of the world is looking at us. But this is on a long-term basis. What I'm talking about on these ratings, they've lowered the Farm Credit System score all the way down to just single A+, and this goes to your IDR, or issuer default rating. And they're just not as confident in us as a country as what they were before. Maybe it's time to get some adults back in there to make some hard decisions. This is no different than it is in your own household. If you see your own credit rating going down, maybe it's time to pull back on the reins a little bit. Maybe make some hard decisions and shore things up a little bit. But that's where we're at as a country. It was responsible for our stock market plunging on Wednesday. They blamed a lot of it on your agriculture commodities going down pretty good on Wednesday. But our government default, our government deficit has risen to 6.3% of GDP. From just 3.7% of GDP last year. That is pretty fast. I mean, we are burning stuff up pretty fast. We're going off a cliff here. We've got to shore some things up a little bit, and we've come out of the pandemic. You know, a lot of these ratings and things kind of give everybody a free ride there during the worst of the pandemic. We've come out of the pandemic, and things should be getting a lot better, a lot faster. But you know, the things that it seems like we're so concerned with right now is whether people know which bathroom to go to, whether they're getting called by the right pronoun or not. You know, we're letting ungodly amounts of freeloaders into this country with no reasonable way to make their own way. And maybe we can't do all that right now. That is a luxury that we can do some of those things when times are good. But our economy sucks right now. Our interest rates are through the roof. They are slowing this economy down like crazy. It is really starting to be a big anchor on our way of doing business. It's a big anchor on doing ag business this way. You know, a few years ago, we weren't even figuring interest in when we were figuring to break even on cattle, or when we were figuring our corn crop, maybe that on big tracts of land. But interest was nothing. Now interest is as much as you hope to make for the most part. But you know, it's tough times here, guys. And it's going to weigh down on everything in this country if we don't start making some adult decisions and start getting things shored up a little bit around here. So on the beef read that, or actually on Daily Livestock report, that your beef primal premiums for prime have narrowed significantly. Back during the COVID, when we had all the cattle backed up, and they got big and they graded really well, and people were learning how to cook at home, and they were liking the best cuts, and they were paying a premium for the prime. Those big premiums have started to dry up. It's making it tougher on the packer. There's nothing more that the packer steals from us than our best quality cuts, and so those are narrowing up quite a bit, and so we're seeing that people can't afford what they want, what they prefer the best as what they could before. And everything just costs so much more. Inflation is so high, which leaves everything that we have and everything that we make worth that much less. But, you know, we've got some tough decisions to make here, and we've got to get this deal shored up. We've got to get some leaders in place that know how to make some tough decisions. Don't forget, here on the Thursday evening at 6 o'clock in the evening, Callaway Livestock Center is going to have a special cow sale, and they've got a hell of a nice offering there, guys, and they have good quality cattle in that part of the country in central Missouri. They've got over 1,000 head already consigned, expecting several more by sale time. Going to have at least 200 top quality bred heifers there, guys. Going to have over 200 cow-calf pairs, over 600 head of fall calving cows. A lot of those will be young. They'll be top quality, guys. They just need a new address, and I think here in the last few days we have seen some relief to that part of the country. But when the grass is grubbed out, the cattle still got to move. Let's talk about your board on Wednesday. August live cattle futures down 147, and our technical analyst told us just on Tuesday that we'd found a bottom. And we were going to be gaining some ground here technically, which that's what everybody watches, and that's what those that trade it watch, that don't really know what they're trading in, is that we were going to see some positive signs here on our cattle futures, but they weren't expecting this this rating demotion here, which kind of took over on Wednesday. But 178.02 on August live cattle. October down $1.32 at 180.50. Your back months were down, but not as bad, from 50 cents to $1.02. August feeder cattle were down despite corn being down every day this week. August feeder cattle down $1.65 at 246.82. September down 180 at 250.10. Back months on feeder cattle down 57 cents to down $1.55. And yes, all those are handsome prices. We deserve those handsome prices. Inflation, the economy and things like that has nothing to do with why these prices are so high on cattle and on beef. has everything to do with our normal cycle of supply and the tremendous amount of drought that we've seen in our major production areas, which has left us with even tighter supplies than we expected, and some of the tightest supplies we've seen in recent memory, at least any of our memories, maybe going back to our grandparents' memories. But talk about corn, new crop December corn down 6 3/4 cents at $5.50 a bushel. So getting back down there, if it should plunge back into the fours, I think we got some more legs on these feeder cattle. November new crop beans down 20 at 13.21 1/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September has absolutely fallen out of bed. Down 17.5 on Wednesday, regular trading at 7.87. Still no fat cattle trade to speak of on a direct basis out of our 5-area feeding region. About 250 head out of Iowa. 185 was the live price, which was in the range of last week, and some mixed cattle at 292. Nebraska, Kansas, and Texas had zero sales, direct basis of feedlot sales, and it just seems like we've now gone to a late Friday evening trade that we're going to see here going forward. We did have a brick and mortar sale at sold fat cattle on Wednesday. It was Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota. Had a good run of slaughter cattle, about 900 head. The steers and heifers sold $3 to $5 higher. The bulk of the conventional fat cattle sold from 182.5 to 187. Program cattle, non-implanted, some drug-free cattle from 186 to 192. Box beef cutout values fell back out of bed. And they had seemed to have found a bottom, which I believe they have long term, but they were down on Wednesday. Choice cuts down 292 at 303.18. Select down 213 at 277.47. Your slaughter has backed off here middle of the week. Through the first 3 days of the week, 371,000 cattle harvested, 2,000 less than last week, 1,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Livestock Risk Services, that's Dakota Moss there, that offices in the exchange building at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. They're your LRP specialist. Oh, he and all of his agents that work with him that are listed here. And check them out. You've got to protect yourself on these high costing cattle and these big prices like this. They could fall completely out of bed, guys, and you've got to have some protection. You can get that on your grazing cattle. You can also get it on calves, even calves that are unborn. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Wednesday, setting at 244.57, down $1.17. First day we've seen down significantly on our index. It's just been creeping higher and higher and higher, and I thought we were going to hit our heads on something, and eventually we did on Wednesday, and it backed off quite a bit. Look at your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, Reno, Oklahoma, 5,100 head. Feeder steers steady to mostly $3 higher. Feeder heifers were fully steady. Steer calves $1 to $3 higher. Heifer calves $5 to $8 higher. Everything was higher or fully steady in El Reno. Your heifer calves ran a light test. But how about this quote on some spayed heifers in El Reno? 85 head weighed 843 at 229. Like I said last week when I was up in Dodge City, they're about out of cattle. Don't have much to sell. Their King of the Ring receipts were down big. Dodge City, Winter Livestock, only had 234 head of cattle for their Wednesday sale. Extremely light there. How about our National Beef Wire stick-out sale of the day? It's a sale barn that sits in the southwest edge of the Flint Hills. Be some of those blue stem cattle, some other cattle coming off other pastures there, but it's Winfield Livestock Auction in Winfield, Kansas. It's a smaller market there, but they had a good run on Wednesday. 1,600 head of feeders, a few more than that. Look at this automated market report and you see a good test on bigger cattle. 285 head of 7-weight steers averaged 773 with a weighted average price of $250.66. 335 head of 8-weight steers averaged 843, weighted average price $243.50. 381 head of 9-weight steers in Winfield, Kansas. They average 925 pounds with a weighted average price of $235.11. How about some heifers? 138 head of 7-weight heifers average $715, average price $237.09, and 121 head of 8-weight heifers, Winfield, Kansas, 838 pound weighted average price $228.23. Give you some individual quotes. How about Bloomfield Livestock Market in Bloomfield, Iowa? They sell 57 steers, weigh 740 at $260.50. Another individual quote from the Green Hills of North Central Missouri. Green City Livestock Marketing, DV auction broadcaster there. 62 steers, weighed 910 pounds at $249. Big time quote there out of Green City. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, your Macrocin, no BS. Top quote for the day, come out of Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota at the feeder sale. 181 head of 550 pound steer calves bring $3.18 a pound. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.